Hi, this is Sociological Lens. I am Dr. Dilsora Fozilova. Welcome to the lecture on social constructivism, one of the foundational theories that has reshaped how we understand knowledge, reality, and society. Originating from thinkers like Berger and Luckman, who introduced the concept in their seminal work called The Construction of Reality, published in 1966, social constructivism emphasizes that much of what we accept as reality is socially constructed through shared human experiences, language, and interactions. Key concepts include the social construction of reality, which asserts that knowledge and social phenomena are created through collective agreement and institutionalization, the process through which ideas and practices became accepted norms. We will also explore symbolic interactionism, a related framework that focuses on how individuals create meaning through daily interactions. By examining these ideas, we will better understand how social norms, cultural beliefs, and even individual identities are products of collective construction. Today's discussion is key to fields ranging from sociology to psychology and has implications for understanding power, inequality, and change within society. Let me share my PowerPoint and dig into it. Social constructionism is a sociological theory that suggests that our understanding of reality is not simply a direct reflection of the world around us, but is constructed through social processes and interactions. Like gender is the product of social interactions that just over the historical periods developed. According to this view, the categories, concepts, and meanings we use to make sense of our experiences and the world are shaped by culture, history, and societal norms rather than being inherent or purely objective truths. So sociological constructionism then is a theory that explores how individuals and groups create, maintain, and alter shared understanding of reality. It suggests that much of what we make to be reality or truth is not inherent or objective, but is instead constructed through social institutions, language, culture, and power relations. For example, concepts like gender, race, deviance, and even normality are not fixed categories. Instead, they are shaped and continually redefined by social interactions, institutions, and collective agreements within a society. Social constructionism, therefore, challenges the idea that such categories are natural or even universally acceptable. So, in educational settings, social constructionism is applied through approaches like group work, discussion, and problem-solving activities where students are encouraged to construct meaning together. The theory also suggests that the context, such as cultural values, language, and social norms, play a significant role in shaping what and how people learn. This differs from social constructionism, which is more concerned with how societal structures and language shape our perceptions of reality, while social constructivism focuses on the individual learning process within social environments. According to social construction of reality, our understanding of what is real is not based on a purely objective truth, but instead created through social processes and interactions. This theory proposed by sociologists Peter Berger and Thomas Luckman, argues that reality is constructed through a continuous cycle of human interactions, shared meanings, and collective agreements. And some of the main concepts in this social construction of reality is externalization, objectivation, and internalization. People create social structures, concepts, and norms as they interact with one another. This could be ideas about roles like teacher or parent, concepts like justice or success, or practices like marriage or schooling. At these ideas are shaped and used in interactions they start to gain from outside of any single individual's mind. As we walk from our home in the morning, we start externalizing who we are and what our beliefs are by just standing on the line in Tim Hortons. That shows our understanding of those norms, or going and discussing certain things about our work with our co-workers, talking about justice, or understanding what success is in our culture. Success can mean different in different cultures, for example. Objectivation, on the other hand, is the social constructs start to feel objective or real over time, as though they exist independently of those created them. For example, money is just paper, but socially has given it value through shared beliefs and practices. This collective acceptance makes money real in the practical sense. For example, if you give me $20 Canadian or American, I understand the value of it. But if you give me a money of some other country with a different name, but it's a money, I understand that's money, but I may not understand the value of it. So therefore, like 20 franc or something else doesn't mean too much for me until I compare it to the Canadian or American dollars. Internalization is another term used in constructionism. Individuals grow up in a world where the social constructs already exist, learning them as if they are natural and unquestionable parts of reality. For example, as a child, we start living in the family, and then we accept our mothers as mothers, fathers as fathers, and then we don't even question what mother means or what father means. Another example can be people learn from a young age what it means to be a good student or a successful person based on societal norms. This process shapes how individuals view themselves and their world, often accepting this construct without even questioning their origins. In this way, social construction shapes how people interpret their experiences, relationships, and roles within society. It illustrates that our reality is not just something we find, but something we create together and reinforce continually. Language and communication play central roles in the social construction of reality, as they are the primary tools we use to create, share, and reinforce the meanings that shape our understanding of the world. Some of the ways we can think about language and communication as tools for creating a reality is language allows people to label experiences, ideas, and objects, giving them meaning that can be understood and shared. When we use words to describe concepts like freedom or family, we are not just naming them, we are infusing them with culturally specific understandings and make them meaningful within a particular society. Also, language and communication is a tool for reinforcing social norms. Communication doesn't just share ideas, it reinforces them. Repeated use of language within a community or culture establish norms and expectations. For example, terms like right and wrong are communicated and reinforced in schools, workplaces, in media, shaping people's sense of morality and ethics. I just watched Donald Trump's one of the final riots in New York City, and I could see how it's a continual use of lies about immigration and how immigrants are poured illegally in the USA, and what they are doing is sinking in society and becoming a cheerful thing for them to, establish Trump as a good nominee for presidential elections. And also, language and communication play a huge role in shaping identity and relationships. Language plays a key role in forming identities and defining relationships through the labels we use and the roles we describe, like parent, leader, student, or friend. People come to understand who they are themselves and their place in society through this identity and relationships. Communication among people reinforces these identities, influencing how they see themselves and interact with others. Um, the language and communication is also very important to construct reality as objective. When language is used widely and consistently across society, it can make certain ideas seem objective or real, even though they are socially created. For example, terms like mental health or criminal gain weight and legitimacy through their repeated use in institutions like medicine, law, and education. They begin to feel like fixed realities rather than social constructions. And language and communication also facilitates change. Language and communication are tools for challenging and reshaping social constructs. New words, phrases, or interpretations can introduce alternative viewpoints, helping to shift collective understanding over time. For instance, language around gender and sexuality has evolved in recent decades, helping to reshape societal attitudes and expanding the range of acceptable identities. From a constructivist viewpoint, knowledge is understood as historically and culturally specific because it emerges from particular social contexts influenced by the time, place, and cultural norms in which it develops. This means that what people consider to be true or real or knowledge is not universal or timeless, but rather shaped by social factors that vary across different historical periods and cultural environments. Historical specificity, for example, knowledge evolves over time, reflecting the dominant beliefs, scientific understandings, and social priorities of different eras. For instance, in medieval Europe, the understanding of the cosmos was largely religious, with Earth seen as the universe's center, which matched the period's theoretical worldview. However, with the scientific advancements of the Renaissance and Enlightenment, new observations challenged this model, eventually leading to our current understanding of it. This illustrates that what is accepted as knowledge changes with historical developments, discoveries, and shifts in power and ideology. Cultural specificity, on the other hand, is knowledge is also deeply influenced by cultural norms, values, and practices. Different societies construct knowledge based on what is meaningful and relevant to them. And these cultural frameworks shape what is considered true or important. For example, Western medicine tends to emphasize scientific, empirical evidence, while many indigenous cultures cooperate holistic and spiritual elements into healing processes. Each approach reflects the value and beliefs of its um, respective culture, creating distinct bodies of knowledge. Social power and influence, for example, another very important part of it, knowledge is often shaped by those who had social, economic, or political power. We will talk about that in a bit. That is, meaning is that certain viewpoints are prioritized and while others are marginalized. Knowledge is also dynamic and negotiated during the processes. It is not static. It's constantly constructed and reconstructed through ongoing social interactions. Social constructionism posits that what a society um, knows is the result of continuous negotiations among people within that culture, influenced by emerging needs, challenging, and perspectives. For example, the concept of mental health has evolved significantly over the last century with cultural and historic shifts influencing what conditions are recognized, how they understood, and what kind of treatments are available. Language and symbols are culturally bound. We just talked about how language and communication, important tools for creating reality. Language and symbols, which are culturally specific, shape the way knowledge is communicated and understood. Since language is not neutral and reflects the cultural and historical context in which it is used, the words and symbols a culture uses can profoundly impact what and how culture is constructed. For example, indigenous languages often have terms that convey unique ways of relating to the environment, which can embody a different knowledge systems about nature compared to Western scientific terms. In short, from the constructivist perspective, knowledge is never purely objective or universally applicable. It is embedded within and continually reshaped by historical and cultural circumstances that give rise to it, actually. This makes knowledge both dynamic and contingent, rooted in the unique social conditions of particular times and spaces. So if we look at this diagram here, we can see that there is objective, subjective, and relative way of seeing reality. In the constructionist view, reality is understood as something that is created and shaped through social processes, interactions, and shared meanings. This stands contrast to both positivism and relativism. Positivism um, Positivism asserts that reality is objective, measurable, and we can discover it through scientific methods. It assumes that reality exists independently of human perception and can be understood through observation and empirical data. It contracts constructionism, the arguments of that reality is not simply found, but is made through the collective agreements and interpretations of society. According to the constructionism, what we consider real is largely influenced by cultural norms, language, and historical context, not merely objective facts. For example, nature is objective. For example, mountains are given to us. We cannot create mountains, but we can name them, give them meaning, or create experiences with mountains that is basically constructed. And when we look at the relativism suggests that reality or truth is entirely subjective and varies from person to person, often leading to the view that all perspectives are equally valid. Constructionism, however, doesn't go to this extreme. It recognizes that shared social structures and interactions shape a collective understanding of reality, meaning that there is still some level of social agreement and coherence. While constructionism acknowledges that knowledge is culturally and historically specific, it also maintains that this shared constructs from meaningful realities within social groups. Um, in, in, in short, constructionism holds a middle ground, arguing that reality is socially constructed and shaped by context and interaction, unlike positivism's objective view and relativism's highly individualistic perspective. Power and ideology influence social construction of reality. In social constructionism, power and ideology are central forces in shaping what society perceives as reality. One second. Those in positions of power, such as political leaders, media institutions, and educational authorities, have significant influence over what is considered valid knowledge. They control the narratives, ideas, and values that are promoted within society. For example, governments and media can frame economic issues or social policies in ways that serve their interests, leading to public to view these issues through a specific lens. This control over official knowledge contributes to construction or constructing a version of reality that aligns with the interests of those in power. Ideologies also shapes beliefs and norms. They are systems or beliefs that justify and maintain specific social arrangements. They shape the way people interpret and understand the world, often creating common sense assumptions about how things should be. For instance, a capitalist ideology may lead people to see economic success as a measure of personal worth, embedding concepts like individualism and competition into the social fabric. Such ideologies become part of constructed reality, making these beliefs appear natural and self evident, even though they are just culturally specific. Language is a powerful tool, as we mentioned earlier, for constructing reality, and those with power can control language to influence how issues are framed. Terms like freedom, terrorism, or progress can have vastly different meanings depending on who defines them. And we are in a moment of US presidential elections right now, and then you can see how this idea of freedom of immigrants or freedom from controlling woman's body is constructed from towards the getting this elected for the presidential office. So another example can be calling a group freedom fighters versus terrorists shapes public perception, which was, again, another political incident or event in the past between the Muslim so-called terrorist groups or mujahideen groups in USA, impacting how people see these groups' actions. By shaping language, power holders guide public interpretations and reinforce specific realities. And often norms and beliefs or institutionalized institutions like schools, religions, and legal systems reinforce ideological beliefs by embedding them in everyday practices and norms. These institutions socialize individuals to adopt certain values, norms, and behaviors, making the constructed reality seem stable and unchanged. For example, educational systems might emphasize competition and achievement, reflecting and reinforcing broader economic and social ideologies. And power and ideology often exclude or marginalize alternative realities or viewpoints that challenge dominant norms. For example, countercultural movements or marginalized communities might have different ways of understanding identity, success, or justice. However, because they lack power, their realities are often dismissed, labeled as deviant or subversive, or even suppressed. So, in short, power and ideology shape the construction of reality by determining which ideas are amplified, accepted, or suppressed. They set parameters for what society collectively understands as truth, guiding perceptions and shaping how people make sense of their world. Subjectivity refers to individual perspectives, emotions, and interpretations that shape how each person experiences and understands the world. Unlike objective facts, which are seen as universally true, subjectivity varies based on personal experiences, beliefs, and feelings, leading to unique viewpoints. Multiple realities arise from the facts that different people, cultures, or social groups may interpret and understand the world in diverse ways. Since reality is socially constructed, different groups can create different realities based on their shared beliefs, norms, and values. This means that what one group considers real or true might differ significantly from another group's version of reality, allowing for the coexistence of multiple equally valid perspectives on reality. So let's dig into the applications of social constructionism. Social constructionists argue that gender roles and sexual identities are not biologically determined, but are constructed through societal norms and expectations. Society prescribes certain roles, certain behaviors, and identities for men and women, such as masculinity and femininity, and creates norms around acceptable expressions of sexuality. For example, notions of appropriate gender roles or normative sexuality, like heterosexuality, or socially imposed with non-conformity, often stigmatized. The increasing recognition of diverse gender identities and sexual orientations show that these categories are flexible and shaped by changing cultural understandings. Race and ethnicity are social constructs that categorize people based on perceived physical or cultural differences, often with significant implications for social status and power. While there is no biological basis for race, societies have historically categorized people by skin color, facial features, and other markers, attributing various stereotypes and hierarchies to these categories. Ethnicity, which relates to shared cultural practices, language, and heritage, is also socially constructed, as people often identify with or assign ethnic identities based on societal norms and contexts. Mental illness is another category that widely socially constructed. The concept of mental illness is shaped by historical beliefs about normal behavior and well being. What is considered a mental disorder varies widely across cultures and has changed over time, as shown by historical shifts in diagnosis. For example, hysteria in 19th century. Social construction affects both the classification and stigma associated with mental illness. For example, some behaviors may be pathologized in one culture but seems as normal or even valued in another. This reflects how cultural context and societal attitudes influence what is labeled as mental illness. Deviance and social control, we learn deviance and social control as a social construct. Deviance and crime are constructed by defining which behavior breaks societal norms or laws. While crime is legally defined, deviance is based on social norms and can vary greatly depending on culture, time, and social group. For example, certain behaviors like tattoos or same sex relationships have been labeled as deviant in the past but are widely acceptable today. These labels are often influenced by those in power who have the authority to enforce norms and decide what is considered deviant or criminal. The social problems or issues that a society recognizes as needing attention, but they are not inherently problematic. Instead, they are constructed often through society when society collectively defines them as harmful or undesirable. For example, poverty or substance abuse may be seen as social problems in one context but overlooked in another. Media, political agendas, and social movements play a major role in framing certain issues as problems, influencing public perceptions and policy. In each case, social construction of these categories illustrate how societal norms, power, and historical context shape our understanding, leading to flexible and sometimes shifting definitions over time. Like any other theories in sociology, constructionism is also critiqued widely. Some of the critics include a neglect of objective reality and relativism or overemphasis on power and language and symbols. The first one I would say is neglect of objective reality. Critics argue that social constructionism downplays or even ignores the existence of an objective reality by Emphasizing that reality is socially constructed, it can seem as though facts and physical realities, such as biological differences or material conditions, are entirely dismissed. This critic suggests that constructionism may like a balanced view, disregarding how certain phenomena like gravity, illness, or hunger exist independently of human perception, even if our interpretations of them are influenced by society. Relativism, um, another critic is that social constructionism's emphasis on social nature of knowledge leads to relativism, where all perspectives are considered equally valid. This can make it challenging to make objective claims about right and wrong, true and false, or to critique harmful practices, as everything is seen as merely a construct or social construct. For example, if morality is entirely socially constructed, it could be seen as undermining efforts to criticize oppressive or unethical practices within different cultures. This extreme relativism can lead to a sense of moral and epistemological ambiguity, weakening constructionism's ability to provide stable ground for critique or social change. Another critique can be the overemphasis on power and language. Social constructionism places a strong emphasis on how power and language shape reality, potentially overlooking other important influences like economic factors, material conditions, or individual agency. Critics argue that by focusing on power structures in linguistic constructionism may oversimplify complex social phenomena. For example, some believe that overemphasizing language can reduce social issues to a matter of discourse alone, ignoring practical or material solutions. Additionally, constructionism may exaggerate the role of power in all social relations, leading to deterministic view that underestimates people's capacity to act autonomously or resist dominant narratives. While social constructionism provides valuable insight into how reality is shaped by social interactions, it can face criticism for neglecting objective realities, leaning too heavily into relativism in emphasizing the roles of power and language at the expense of other factors. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about the main thinkers or contributors to constructionism. One of them, like we mentioned a couple times now, is Peter Berger and Thomas Lickman. Their book in 1966 called The Social Construction of Reality. I will include one video that talks about this social construction of reality in your learning space. Berger and Luckman's work is foundational in social constructionism. They argue that reality is produced and maintained through social processes, particularly through institutions, and that individuals internalize these social constructions in everyday life. They talk about internalization process, that lifelong socialization, and we learn most of what we know through others. Even our ideas are shaped by the other people or how they see the world. And then there is a process of externalization, which we teach other people or externalize our ideas so other people internalize it. Also, there is objectification, which is that over time, as we talk and discuss certain things, they became the actual reality, that people forget that they are the authors of this of this meanings, and it seems like it naturally exists in society. The another person who contributed widely to social constructionism is Michel Foucault. In his Discipline and Punish in 1975 published. I have a video on Discipline and Punish in my channel. You can watch that in Sociological Objective. And also another book he published in 1976 that is called The History of Sexuality. Foucault is one of the greatest contributors of post postmodernism and social constructionism. He explored how power and knowledge are intertwined in the construction of social reality. He examined how institutions like prison and school and medical systems work together and sometimes work similar to shape our understanding of the world, social norms, identities, and behaviors, often in ways that reinforce power structures. Another person who contributed widely in social constructionism is Judith Butler in her Gender Trouble, which is published in 1990. Butler's other work, like Excitable Speech, is also amazing work that kind of emphasizes the language's role in social constructionism. Butler's work on gender and performativity challenges traditional understandings of gender as a fixed identity. Instead, she argues that gender is socially constructed through repeated performances of gendered behavior. As we talked in Berger and Luckman's work, they talk about objectification that influenced by societal norms and expectations. We can talk so much about this works, however, our time is limited, and I will try create some separate videos on this amazing contributions. In conclusion, social constructionism provides a valuable framework for understanding how world around us or society construct reality, shaping every day everything from identities to norms and traditions to cultures and knowledge as social construct. It reveals the dynamic and negotiated nature of social life and emphasizes the role of culture, language, and power in shaping human experiences. So this was a short video on social constructionism. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in our next classes.